Hey guys! Baby Pokemon haven't gotten a lot of attention in recent generations. We got Toxel in Gen 8, but there weren't any baby Pokemon between Gens 4 and 8. We also haven't gotten any baby Pokemon for previous Gen Mons since Gen 4. I think it would be great to see more baby Pokemon again, so let's create baby pre-evolutions for older Pokemon. A Gen 1 Pokemon that I would like to see get a pre-evolution is Lapras. In the anime, we've seen little baby Lapras, but in the games it's kind of funny to see this massive Loch Ness monster of a Pokemon hatch out of an egg. Because of this and how well loved Lapras is, I think it would be cute for it to receive a baby form. Meet Lapril, the baby Pokemon that evolves into Lapras. The name is basically just Lil Lapras, but reversed. Lapril is much smaller than Lapras, and sticks closely by his parent's side for protection and an extra layer of security. This Pokemon is still growing the shell on its back. The little pebble-looking bumps are the beginnings of its shell forming. Because of this, its back is weak and exposed for any large flying predators to attack and grab the Pokemon. To try and prevent this from happening, it has evolved over time to have a large blue patch on its back to mimic the looks of Lapras' shell. They are born similarly to sea turtles. Lapras will make its way to the ocean shore and bury its eggs under the sand. When Lapril hatch, they dig themselves out from the sand and make their way towards the water, with the tide helping to speed things along. This is the most vulnerable time of a Lapril's life, due to them being completely exposed to nearby predators. The horn that Lapras has also hasn't grown in, but there is a blue spot on Lapril's forehead to indicate where the horn will be when evolving. Lapril is shy but friendly. It loves to interact with trainers, but will always wait to make sure its parents seem comfortable around them before approaching themselves. Many fans have wanted a baby Pokemon that ties Miltank and Tauros together, so of course I needed to create this little baby, Cafland. This Pokemon was inspired by fluffy Highland cows, which is where the land part of its name comes from. The fluffy hood and collar of this Pokemon helps to keep it warm while adding to its cute charm. The eyes are covered by the fluff most of the time, but can flip up when shocked or angered. When feeling enraged, the fluff that doesn't cover its eyes also puffs out, and when shocked, the hairs stand on end. This mimics hair seen in anime like the Studio Ghibli movies. Cafland evolves into Miltank if it's female, and Tauros if it's male. When it evolves into Miltank, the furry hood and collar changes to the hood markings around Miltank's head and neck, while the fluff changes to a big furry collar when evolved into Tauros. Like most other baby Pokemon, Cafland evolves when happiness is high, but it must also be leveled up during the day to become Miltank or Tauros. This Pokemon is very quiet and prefers to communicate with body movements. It can get frustrated if the Pokemon or trainer it's trying to communicate with doesn't understand them, and may use rollout or charge at them when it can't handle its feelings anymore. Trainers of Cafland that are more understanding and willing to learn the best way to communicate with Cafland often develop stronger bonds with the Pokemon. This makes the Pokemon more likely to evolve, rewarding trainers for being more open-minded and willing to change how they approach their friendship with the Pokemon. This little calf can actually become very strong with the proper training, and some trainers choose not to evolve Cafland and let them hold an Eviolite instead. Skarmory was my favorite Steel-type Pokemon for the longest time. Sorry buddy, you've been dethroned by Tinkaton now. So I'd love to see it get special treatment in the future. There have been other artists who have designed evolutions and megas for this Iron Bird, but I think it would be neat to see a pre-evolution. This is mostly because of a Pokedex entry that makes it sound like the babies are a bit different from Skarmory. The Dex entry reads, "After nesting in bramble bushes, the wings of its chicks grow hard from scratches by thorns." Meet Skarchick, the baby form of Skarmory. This goofy little bird has feathers on its head and body that are a light gray, almost white color. The neck, legs, feet, and tail are completely bare like how baby birds are born without feathers. This Pokemon is a pure flying type, since its body still hasn't become a hard metal. Because the Pokemon is lacking armor, it still has pretty low defense stats. Parent Skarmory are very protective of Skarchick. Most trainers will never see Skarchick unless they hatch Skarmory eggs themselves, as the parents prevent their babies from leaving the nest as much as possible. It's said that parents take turns sitting on the nest and going out to look for food for their young. This is based on the idea that people often don't see baby birds in the wild, especially when they are very young like this. Skarchick are said to protest this, though. They will angrily scream at their parents to try and frustrate them enough to move off of the nest, though this often proves useless. They will also become loud when one of their parents comes back to the nest with food. Skarchick are known for having a ferocious appetite. Parent Skarmory have to constantly search for food, as Skarchick seem to always be hungry. This baby Pokemon is much smaller than Skarmory at only a foot tall, so all of this food is needed so that the Pokemon has enough nourishment to become a large, full-grown Skarmory in the future. Let's create a baby form for a newer Pokemon. How about the Gen 7 Pokemon, Drampa? The point of this Pokemon is to look like an old grandparent dragon, so it makes sense for there to be a less elderly looking Pokemon when hatching Drampa eggs. It would also be cute for Drampas to be grandparents themselves, with a little Pokemon that visually looks like a grandchild. This grandchild dragon could look like this Pokemon, Draby. Draby is a sweet and playful normal and dragon type Pokemon. Its name is a combination of Draco and Baby. It's wrapped by soft and fluffy fur that acts like a security blanket. The Pokemon is curious of the world around it, but as a young Pokemon, it can sometimes get overwhelmed. It's usually seen in a sweet pose where its arms are raised and hands are clasped. This matches the pose often seen by Drampa themselves. Instead of a mop of drooping hair on its head, Draby has a tuft of fluff on the top of its head. Draby have strong connections with their Drampa grandparents. They enjoy tagging alongside them whenever possible. Parent Drampa will often leave their young Draby with their grandparents during daytime hours, while they go out in search of food. Grandparent Drampa are very patient with Draby, and will even tousle Draby's hair tuft when it does something well. Trainers who have witnessed Drampa interact with Draby can tell the difference between the parent and grandparent Drampa based on the way they interact with Draby. Like humans, grandparent Drampa often spoil their Draby grandchildren and treat them with extra sweetness. If we're giving Drampa a pre-evolution, it's only fair that we give Turtonator one too. Since these Pokemon have always been version exclusives, this would give players a new baby Pokemon regardless of which game they choose. The pre-evolution for Turtonator is Tantratort. This Pokemon has a personality that contradicts Draby's. Tantratort is the embodiment of the terrible twos. It's defiant, unruly, and prone to temper tantrums. That's why its name starts with Tantra, based on the word tantrum. It's known for biting and hitting trainers and other Pokemon, and often won't listen to rules set forth by their parents or trainers. This makes the Pokemon difficult to train, and is only recommended for more experienced trainers. Those who have been able to work with Tantratort successfully have expressed that the process of bonding with Tantratort is rewarding in the long run. They often have incredible bonds with their Turtonators upon evolving, with those who battle against them claiming that the power of these Turtonators are stronger than most. Tantratort has a shell on the top of its head that is large enough to protect the Pokemon's head. It has strap-looking pieces on either side of its face that makes the shell resemble a pointier version of baby safety helmets. The belly is hard and looks like a button-up bodysuit, with the feet having red growths to look like baby stalks. The shell on its back is smaller and doesn't protrude as much as Turtonators. The hard, sharp pieces on the back of the shell also aren't nearly as long or pointy. This also mimics how the shell of the animal Turtonator is based on, the Mata, becomes sharper and more jagged with age. What Pokemon would you want to see get a baby pre-evolution? Let me know down in the comments. I'll be creating new evolutions in the future too. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!